I was on the hunt for a new phone, scouring Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. This was back when iPhone 7s were still rocking the home buttons. I stumbled upon a tempting deal from a guy named Melvin. He was selling an iPhone factory unlocked, brand new, for around $300. Melvin provided all the necessary details and even sent a video of the sealed box. He seemed like a nice guy to chat with via text, and I was ready to seal the deal. Melvin's location on the Facebook ad was relatively close, but over text he claimed to be an hour north. Despite the inconvenience, the deal was too good to pass up. I reached out to friends to join me on this adventure, aiming to turn a mundane task into a fun road trip. Martina, one of my friends, agreed to accompany me with the promise of a meal as her reward. As we embarked on the journey around 8:30 p.m., the car ride became enjoyable with Martina's company. The plan was to pick up the phone and then make the most of the Friday night. However, when we reached the police precinct, where Melvin suggested we meet, there was no sign of him or his black Ultima. Confused, I called him, and he claimed car troubles on the side of a remote road. Feeling uneasy, but not willing to waste the 2-hour drive, I agreed to help him jump-start his car. Martina, rightfully skeptical, suggested we abandon the whole ordeal. Still determined, I drove towards the given location. When we arrived, we saw the distant glow of a car's headlights on a pitch-black road surrounded by woods. As we approached, we couldn't spot anyone inside or outside the car. Martina urged me to keep driving, but I was torn between skepticism and frustration at the thought of a wasted trip. Ignoring Martina's concerns, I drove past the location. Almost immediately, Melvin started bombarding me with calls and texts, questioning why I hadn't stopped. Ignoring his messages, we discussed the sketchiness of the situation. Martina, with her positive outlook, laughed it off, claiming her reward for the adventure, food. We found the nearest diner, a quiet place even for a Friday night, and ordered some coffee. A lone guy walked in, wearing a dirty navy blue hoodie with the hood pulled up. He glanced at us, then ordered a coffee at the counter. Suspicious. I whispered to Martina that he might be Melvin. Confirming my suspicions, he thanked the waitress, and we hastily paid the check, downed our coffees, and left. Back in the car, we noticed the guy leaving the diner. We sped away, and only then did we realize there was a black car in the parking lot, possibly the same one from earlier. Driving fast to avoid any pursuit, we eventually got back on the highway. However, the ordeal wasn't over. A low tire pressure light signaled trouble, and it became clear Melvin had slashed my tire. To prevent further damage, I pulled over, replaced the tire with the spare, and confirmed the damage. It was a night filled with unexpected turns, and yes, I still treated Martina to dinner. Looking back, we share the story as a wild adventure, but it's a chilling reminder of how close we came to walking into a potential trap. When I moved into my own apartment, I had to declutter and get rid of things I no longer needed. Not a fan of Craigslist due to its sketchy reputation, I opted for Facebook Marketplace to sell items that wouldn't fit in my new place and that my dad wanted out. Among them were childhood toys, book sets, and a weight set. The weight set, including a barbell, plate tree stand, and various plates, was listed for $340. Surprisingly, there were few inquiries. One person, Joe, stood out. His profile picture, though grainy, showed a guy with a fishing hat holding a fish. His account was private, with 3 mutual friends, all girls from my town. His last name matched a Joe I knew, adding to my assumption. After confirming availability, Joe agreed to the price without haggling and scheduled to pick it up around 11 p.m. A casual inquiry about his past relationship with Gina led to an odd pause in our conversation. Nevertheless, he confirmed and proceeded to request my address. Despite sending my address, Joe's responses were delayed. By 6 p.m., hours after my workday, he finally asked for my number. A text from a local number arrived, but the delay raised no immediate concerns. He claimed he'd be over in a few hours, and I continued with my evening routine. Around 11 p.m., I expected his arrival. A text at 11:30 informed me he was outside. Peeking out, I spotted a dark car. Attempts to call him were rejected, and his text instructed me to come out. Strange texts about being straight first left me puzzled. Growing suspicious, I contacted mutual friends, discovering Joe's profile was likely a catfish. Concerned, I secured my apartment, turned off lights, and peeked through the blinds. A person hiding in the bushes intensified my fear. The car honked, and the individual rushed to it, speeding away. Despite the relief, the fear lingered, knowing they had my address. The fake Facebook profile was deleted the next day, but threats followed, alleging I'd interacted with someone's girl. Reporting it to the police yielded little action. Since then, I've lived cautiously, always checking outside my windows before leaving the apartment at night. It must have been around 2018 when I decided to sell our old pinball machine, a relic from our childhood. While it wasn't an extravagant arcade-level machine, it was worth a decent amount, probably a few $100. The pinball machine had been tucked away in my parents' attic for ages, and I figured it was time to part ways with it before my sisters had the same idea. Not wanting to share the proceeds, I slyly listed it while my family was away on a trip I couldn't join due to work. My parents' house is in a nice neighborhood, although not in a gated community. I posted the pinball machine on Facebook Marketplace for $200. The following day, I received a message from an account named Jasmine with no profile picture. She expressed interest and offered $175, which I agreed to. We scheduled a time for her to pick it up. However, when the agreed-upon time arrived, Jasmine was nowhere to be seen. She messaged me, assuring me she'd be there soon. As the hours ticked by, I grew more impatient, especially since I had work the next day. I suggested rescheduling for the next day, but she insisted she was already on her way. Tired but determined, I stayed up until 11:45 p.m., and that's when she claimed to have arrived. To my surprise, a car parked outside had all 4 doors swing open, revealing 3 guys and the supposed Jasmine. Sensing trouble, I asked if she was alone, to which she didn't respond. Instead, she attempted to force her way inside, knocking on the glass. Deciding it was best not to let them in, I kept the door locked, ignoring their insults and obscenities. After they left, I sighed in relief. However, my unease lingered. Later that night, I heard a crash downstairs, the unmistakable sound of a window shattering. Rather than rushing to check, I hesitated, listening for further sounds. When footsteps approached, I quietly dialed 911. Under my bed, I anxiously waited as the intruders ransacked the house, completing their misdeed within minutes. The police arrived late, but the subsequent investigation led to the arrest of Jasmine and her accomplices. They were charged with burglary, and most stolen items were recovered. To make the case more compelling, I exaggerated the situation, claiming I was verbally threatened. While my family was initially upset, they eventually understood the necessity of my actions. The incident, though unnerving, concluded with justice served.